Okay,
This is
here's
the line
my
right
intro.
here, right?
You just
Okay.
erase that right there and go simple. My name A-Z. No, I don't like that.
All right.
A-Z-I-Z-A-K-I-B-I-B-I.
Is it fine? Hey. I'm Aziza Kibibi and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I'm not in New Jersey. I am in my grandmother's home country of Jamaica. So we came out here. I wanted to definitely get some time with her as she got older. And I mean, it's always been a dream of mine to, for my first time to Jamaica, to come with her. So we did. I'm here with my sister and my aunt. At the time I'm recording this video, of course, because by the time it's posted, it's probably, I'll probably be back in New Jersey. But this is a continuation of answering your questions. And one question that I do often get, and I think a lot of survivors of abuse get, is why did you not disclose sooner? Why didn't you report your abuser? Before I get into the very complicated details, please like this video. It will help to get the information out to those who need it, and also subscribe to my channel. And I'm gonna say thank you so much for all of my subscribers, those who have been following me from the start or from the beginning of my focus of building my YouTube channel. I really appreciate all of your love and support and positive energy. And on that note, let's get right into it. For those of you who don't know, if you are new here to my channel, I am an author, an activist, a mom, a chef, an entrepreneur, public speaker, and a survivor of many years of abuse at the hands of my biological father, Aswad Ayinde. He directed Killing Me Softly by the Fugees. And he started molesting me from when I was 8 years old. He raped me at 10. And over the years, that rape and that abuse led to 5 pregnancies and 4 live births by him. I did not escape him until I was 24 years old. And it is that age that a lot of people kind of question and judge and actually hold me as a past victim responsible for the abuse that I suffered. So it's not uncommon. I mean, I could even talk about when my sisters and I actually did disclose and report my father for the crimes that he was committing. And it was a very scary process, because I was taught that the government did not like black people. I was homeschooled, and my father made it a point to educate me on the crimes that were committed against stolen Africans who were brought to America and enslaved, and how that perpetuated this idea that black people in general, even once we gained our freedom, even after the civil rights movement, but that black people were not valued as much as white people or any other race. So he incorporated that into his grooming. And while I don't know if that was his intention in the very beginning, I do know that by the time he was raping me at 10 years old, and then I started having children at 15, he continued that narrative. He made sure to ingrain in me this fear of the outside world, and that law enforcement wouldn't care about me, and that people on the outside would not care about me. So that played a huge role in me trying to seek help. Not to mention the fact that my access to the outside world was very limited. I was homeschooled. All of my education came from my parents, though my mom knew at the same time she was an abused woman, and I saw through her the consequences of what reaching out for help would result in. For instance, there was one time my father abused and beat my mother pretty badly. And at the time, we lived in a house that my grandmother owned. So he beat my mom. I don't know what their argument was about. I was maybe about 10 or 11 at the time, so he was already raping me. And I just remember someone called the police. I believe it was my grandmother who called the police. And my father, I looked out the window, I remember the red and blue lights, and my father was there talking to the police as if they were his friends. They were laughing and shaking hands. So I was too young to understand or know if he actually did have a personal relationship with this law enforcement. But seeing his power demonstrated in that way, he did something to hurt my mom. He was hurting me, and when something was said about him hurting my mom, he walked away scot-free. So that just really supported his indoctrination that he could do no wrong and that God was on his side. And he did have this one theory, and I'm not sure where he got it from. I heard that it did come out of the Bible, but his theory was that if in a man's heart what he is doing is right, then in God's eyes it is correct. And he really just kind of beat that into our heads, and we would get long lectures. So there was a lot of indoctrination there, and I guess a lot of people would call it brainwashing that contributed to just my obedience and my compliance, and also my mom. So my example of how to interact with him and how to respond to what happened to you, whether you thought it was bad or not, was through my mom. You know, I saw her attempts. They did not pan out in the way that she wanted to. And for me as a child, seeing those examples throughout my adolescence and my teenage years, it was like, well, you know, this is what happens. This is what happens if you try to stand up for yourself. And of course, I had my own consequences that I was dealing with. So, you know, it took some time for me to build up the strength to then finally tell somebody. Shoot, it took some time for me to find somebody to tell. And that did not happen until I was about 22 or 23 years old. So, at the very least, my experience growing up was complicated, very complicated, and suffering that kind of abuse. You know, I know a lot of people see me now as a healed survivor, as a survivor, establishing myself, understanding my worth, kind of remedying all of the damage and healing and repairing a lot of the damage that the abuse that I have survived. It took a long time to get here. It took a long time. It took a lot of intent. It took a lot of research. And you know, I'm going to change that. It didn't take a long time, considering, right? Because when you think about it, I mean, we spend our entire adulthood trying to get over our childhood, because during your formative years, during the time that your brain is developing, during the time that you're trying to define and understand who you are and what your place is in the world, you know, to have that kind of trauma forced on you is going to disrupt that whole process, and it does have an impact on the person and the adult that you become. So considering I'm very, I can't even call it proud. It's not that I'm proud, but I'm really happy that I have come as far as I have come, considering and knowing, especially working with other survivors, knowing how long that it could take. And I always tell survivors, you know, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't rush yourself to heal. As long as you are putting one foot in front of the other, as long as you are actively working out that process, you're looking for therapy, you're meditating, you're doing things, and even if those things don't work, but you're finding other things that could help in your healing process actively and with intention, then it's just going to take as long as it's going to take. But just know that the healing is happening during that time. And antithetically to what my father taught me to believe and taught my family to believe, there are people and organizations out there who are willing to help and willing to support you, like Precious Little Ladies Inc. And of course me, a survivor who understands. So to summarize everything, in answering the question on why did it take me so long to report or to disclose or to tell anyone what was happening to me, one, my father created a community around me that was not allowed to question him, or there would be consequences if you did question him. There were other adults that knew that what he was doing, inclusive of my mother. So having all of these other adults around him, enabling him and rubber stamping the things that he was doing to me, created in me this mindset that what he was doing was correct. Of course, as a teenager and as a young adult, the confusion, the self-doubt, the not understanding that I had autonomy, all of those things played a role. And then the fear and my perspective of the outside world and believing what my parents said, that there was no one out there that would even care to help. So even when he was threatening our lives and the lives of my children and the lives of my siblings, I felt like there was nowhere to turn. And honestly, the term being caught between a rock and a hard place is exemplified by being a survivor of abuse, especially if you are an empathetic person. You're going to be concerned. A lot of survivors, especially child survivors, child victims, take on the responsibility of keeping the family together or keeping things right or not upsetting their abuser and not putting other people at risk. And all of those play a role in how long it takes, or if ever. That's the fact. There are many people still suffering these kind of atrocities that are still suffering it and have never and are never going to tell anyone and continue to just suffer in silence. So I'm here to say that yes, there are people out there, and I hope that you share this video, and I hope that it helps you if you are a survivor. And for those who are not survivors, trust you know somebody. You know somebody. 1 in 4 women have been molested before they turn 18, and that's only based on reports. So you know somebody within your community that has survived sexual abuse and domestic violence or are currently victims of that. And I hope that the things that I share create some kind of perspective, gives you some perspective, and you can sympathize and possibly help someone in need. And on that note, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And hello again from Jamaica. Goodbye from Jamaica. Be blessed, for you are a blessing. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching, taking the time to learn and process information and to walk on this journey with me. And I want to give a special shout out to all of my new subscribers. So make sure you check out these other videos and be blessed, for you are a blessing.